Welcome to Two Left Thumbs, my name's Graham, and this is more Friday Night Funkin' secrets, Easter eggs, and references. The plan was to release these videos in months, covering 4 weeks at a time, but with the recent Kickstarter launch, free content updates are going to be much more sporadic. Instead, I'll hammer out weeks 4 to 7 now, and potentially sit tight for the full game to release. We'll have to see what the release schedule is like in the coming months. With that Kickstarter going viral, the game is already guaranteed up to 30 weeks and might end up closer to 35 or even 45. Plus an erect difficulty remix of every song. But I do empathize with Kawaii Sprite with all the work they have ahead of them. Here's a cool new Easter egg right off the bat. If you now hold either right or left in the title screen, it'll roll through different red, blue, green color transitions. It's incredibly satisfying to play around with. Random fun fact, that was one of the top comments on the last video. The creators have confirmed that the name of the game is definitely meant to be an innuendo. Boyfriend is trying to get lucky once a week, and people keep getting in the way, which makes a lot more sense of the blue balls fail screens. There is also an alternate game over screen that has a 1 in 1,000 chance of appearing. It's made to look like the fail screens of Gitaru Man instead, a game that was a heavy inspiration for the developers, especially a friend of theirs, Wanda Boy, who themselves actually drew the head of Boyfriend in this Gitaru Man tribute. Before getting into new things, I need to include a few small things I missed or that felt underexplored in the previous video. Number 1, I need to correct myself for Sir Pilo. Week 2 added battles against Skid and Pump, which come from Sir Pilo's Spooky Month series. I read it as such, not realizing that creator is Spanish. It should be read as Senor Pelo, which is Spanish for Mr. Hair. So my apologies to them, especially for butchering their name like that. Yikes. Although honestly, the number of people correcting me on that in the comments likely gave the video an algorithm boost. So feel free to correct me on anything else I get wrong or mispronunciate. Apparently it does the video wonders. I also want to take a minute to explain the whole Philly and Philly Nice confusion. There's a bunch of wild theories out there that one of them has to do with B-sides and other random guesses like that. They are just one song, and there is a reason for it. Cam recently revealed on Twitter that he simply hadn't coded spaces into their font library yet, so the song was shortened to Philly in-game, while the full track was indeed still Philly Nice. You can even see in old footage where Dad Battle would be written out with no spaces, and up until then it was only those 2 songs that had spaces in them, so it was an infrequent issue. Philly Nice must have just looked weird written out. Philly Nice. Philly Nice? Philly Nice. He also revealed a fun little detail that the song was first titled Long Time Intro, as in long time no see, since Pico and Boyfriend hadn't dated in a long time. Quick reminder for everyone, I gotta squeeze in a plug here somewhere. The roguelike top-down horror shooter game Dead Estate, being developed by the Milk Bar lads and published by Two Left Thumbs, is coming to Steam later this year. That page is live now. The best thing you could do to help us out would be to give that a wish list. It boosts it within Steam and makes it more likely for them to recommend it internally and start promoting it to other users. Then that growth becomes more organic and hopefully snowballs from there. You guys have been great so far. Keep it going. I'll talk more about it at the end of the video. We have the addition of new preloader gags. I won't relist all those old ones again. Don't play Rust. We only funkin'. Goodbye, my penis. DaBaby, biggest inspiration. I honestly don't know if they are fans of DaBaby or if they're making fun of the guy. My understanding is he kind of got famous on TikTok, so maybe they legitimately are inspired by the viral way in which he springboarded his own career. I truly don't know. There are 2 fashionably late, but here it is, and updates each Friday, on time, every time. Both just making fun of the fact that they long ago did away with the pretense of weeks happening in real time. Yo! Pico funny. My understanding is that this is what people thought was being said in an early line of Boyfriends in the Pico song battles. And now it's become a bit of a catchphrase. People say it in Ninja Muffin's Twitch all the time. Shoutouts to Mason for the homies, which is one of the developer's young cousin who is telling his classmates that he was related to the creator of Friday Night Funkin'. They didn't believe Mason, and so as a fun little shout out to him, this was added into the game. Bonk, get in the Discord call. I don't know specifically who Bonk is. It's a bit of an inside joke, I assume. Someone who sucks at showing up to Discord calls. And a few more added specifically with the Week 7 update. Carpal Tunnel. Game design. Down scroll. I don't know what that is. I just absolutely love that down scroll was integrated during this week. Between that and a bit of key remapping, I actually stand a chance finally. As someone who never got into Dance Dance Revolution and didn't have a console until the Wii, I missed out on a lot of those PlayStation influences. It's much easier for me if I can fit this game more closely to Guitar Hero or Super Crazy Guitar Maniac Deluxe. Warning, choking hazard. Devin Chat, what an honorable man. This feels like an inside joke. My guess is it's referencing when a developer shows up in a Twitch chat, dev in chat, and someone accidentally put Devin Chat, and they started treating it like Devin was a specific person. Kickstarter exclusive. Intro text. Cussing. We have it. Which yeah, week 7 is a little vulgar. If you haven't looked at the Kickstarter for any reason other than to see that number infinitely scrolling up, as well as to watch them steadily bang out stretch goals, there are a few things in this campaign I want to stop and appreciate. They managed to slip a few gags in there. There's a $10,000 tier where the devs will call you and tell you you suck. That's a pretty obvious joke, nothing deeper there. But my personal favorite is the $9,999 reward. Digital wallpapers are usually the entry point of most Kickstarter campaigns, maybe one above $1 for a thank you, and are kind of a throwaway. In a world where we can all download and share things infinitely, a digital wallpaper doesn't really have much value, and they rarely get any contributions on any Kickstarters. So instead of having the usual throwaway tier, they instead made it the second most expensive, but then made every aspect of what they're offering even shittier than usual. They're promising a particularly low resolution wallpaper, they left typos in the reward tier, and specifically state that no other rewards are included. You literally don't even get a copy of the game for spending just under 10 grand. And 2 psychos actually bought it for the lulz? Must be nice to be that rich to throw around 10 grand on a gag. But hey, you know what? Those 2 big spenders are part of history now. Building off all those obvious PlayStation 1 influences, the way they've kind of grounded the game's marketing in that, both real and fake marketing, they promise a PlayStation 1 port at the $3 million mark. I just love the commitment to that. It's not even really a bit. That just seems like their own love letter to what appears to be their greatest influence. The second highest, $5 million, comes with a promise to remake Pico School and create the unfinished sequel. There has been like a 20+ year long saga on Newgrounds, with the original Pico School dating back to 1999, and teases of a sequel coming sporadically ever since. It's becoming more of a meme and a running joke on Newgrounds than anything real anymore. I may or may not be planning a video on the very subject for the near future, so hold tight and I'll be able to unravel more of that history for you soon. And at the highest level, $10 million is a nightmare alternate universe, followed by a bunch of wigging out in the text description. I guess it's kind of just poking fun at people who obsessed over that sort of fan content, or that's them literally just losing their mind over the fact that their game managed to raise $10 million. A simple one in the rewards section. Boyfriend and girlfriend are decked out in gold and jewels, and boyfriend is holding a trophy which could potentially be a riff on the daily or weekly trophies of Newgrounds, but it also has the Newgrounds classic Anger face on the cup. How about some more unused content and joke additions through the updates? In version 0.2.1, they added a line to the source code that literally just said, added Easter eggs. You know, as a gag for people like us who go digging for that sort of thing. Something I didn't look enough at before, the Demon Henchmen in week 4 have a few unused assets, including what appears to be a single frame where they probably would have been nailing down the design before they committed to animating and shading the whole thing, and that single image is simply titled dumb.png, leading many to think that these guys were the Dumbs or some similar title like that, but the actual in-game characters are titled Limo Dancer and Limo Driver. Phantom Arcade provided some behind the scenes of developing these character designs. He was first and foremost inspired by Kawaii Sprite's own musical inspiration of the week, specifically citing Bobby Brown's Every Little Step music video, so I was wrong about them being specifically MC Hammer, although Bobby Brown is definitely a contemporary of that same genre and era of music. Visually, he also pulled from this old Mac Tonight McDonald's ad, presumably the sunglasses, the style of Powerline from a Goofy movie, and the overall demonic appearance of Dabura from Dragon Ball Z. I love seeing artistic cross-sections like this that result in something totally unique. The game files also have this leftover design that has a much more obviously Powerline influenced hairstyle. These henchmen also had leftover art for gruesome dismemberments as they collide with the lampposts, but that was cut for time. It was instead added with the large Week 7 update, having them all smashed to bits at the end of the showdown instead of throughout. Sharing more artistic behind-the-scenes stuff, because I personally find it fascinating, Girlfriend was apparently inspired by the Rhythm Heaven Girl, which makes a lot of sense in hindsight, especially that standard red dress. And we saw a set of progress pics showing how Phantom first drew Mom, explaining that all his designs then passed to Evil Skater to get his take on it, before circling back to him for final polish. And I just love how collaborative these guys are, and how clear they've made it that everyone is such a crucial part of producing that end product. Week 4 as a whole is named Mommy Must Murder, which is a reference to a game Ninja Muffin and Phantom Arcade worked on together called Must Murder Mommy, although it doesn't seem that game was ever finished. It also seems to have been somewhat tangentially confirmed that one section of the MILF track is indeed meant to be reminiscent of Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. So yeah, when that song made it onto the Billboard charts, millions of unsuspecting people were being covertly Rick-rolled. That might be the most genius troll move I've ever seen. A screenshot from Ninja Muffin's Twitch chat made it into the game. Little Green Fairy pleaded, "Add me to the game, please." I guess you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, although I'd hesitate to call this one a goal. Certainly counts as something. They kinda made it into the game. Let's call it an assist. There was a 1-second YouTube video titled Fan-Made Joshua Character. This was screenshotted and added into the game files with the title Zzz, presumably snoring at the boring design of this simply being a black and white trace of Boyfriend with even less detail. We have what is either an experiment, but more likely a gag asset titled Week 54 Prototype. Obviously that name is a joke. Even if they max out their Kickstarter, they don't have 54 weeks planned. But it's unclear if the whole thing is meant to be a joke. Maybe a 3D style week is something they really are exploring. They've confirmed after the Week 6 style switch up that they want to play around with more assets and more stylistic variations. So it could be. This very well could be the model that's intended to be printed for the Boyfriend figure that's a part of that Kickstarter campaign. Unfortunately, they were long ago sold out. Getting into the actual weeks. Week 5 was released for the holidays, taking place in the mall and features the Mom and Daddy Dearest together for 2 songs. Which actually, as of about a month ago, Cam confirmed that they are Daddy Dearest and Mommy Nearest because, and I quote, "because it's funny." And I'm fully on board with that reasoning. The week is titled Red Snow, a much more murder-forward play on the typical gag of Yellow Snow. A couple holding Santa hostage at gunpoint reminds me of the Ryan Gosling Saturday Night Live sketch Santa Baby. You know, Friday Night Funkin', Saturday Night Live. But despite me trying to bend and fit it, the costumes don't really match. It doesn't appear to be that direct of a reference being made, so I think it's a stretch. I don't really know why they're holding Santa hostage. I guess they are demons? They're just out here causing chaos? All of the main 4 characters have received holiday-themed redesigns. The background of this level is loaded with Newgrounds characters. Out in front, there's Darnell from Pico's school, Zone Ton, the mascot for Zone Archive, and the protagonists for the upcoming Newgrounds-made game, Nightmare Cops. On the upper level, we have Pico, again he's still lurking around, Ken Starr from Ego Raptor's Girl Chan in Paradise, Evil Skater, the previously mentioned artist working on the game, Cool Dude TM, a Twitter artist and friend of the devs, Blockhead, a classic Newgrounds series from the Swain, Meat Boy, and while yes, Super Meat Boy is a thing, the original Meat Boy from Ed McMillan was a Newgrounds creation. We have the Hellbenders from Oni and Psychic Pebbles. It's kind of funny seeing them up there, because I think the panicked, exaggerated look on Santa's face looks like it could have come straight out of one of their cartoons. Gooey and Gentles from the short Gentles, stars of their own series, Sublo and Tangy Mustard, the stick who needs no introduction, Henry Stickmin. He doesn't need the introduction, but I'm giving it anyways. XX Squidward XX's character specifically seen in their Friday Night Funkin' parody video, although it might be a bit of a recurring character for them, and the monster, patiently waiting their turn, and Hatsune Miku. When they had to cut the monster from appearing in week 2 while they worked on polishing things, they instead opted to do a Winter Horrorland and bring the character back for Christmas instead. So while their first appearance, if you were to play through the story mode now, is week 2, they were first properly added in week 5. Although yes, with the week 7 update, that 3rd song is properly added back into week 2, simply titled Monster. This segment has a unique scene transition featuring a mini jump scare with a decapitated head of Girlfriend. And the monster again sings all about eating the two kids. Bassett Films tweeted out a series of musical references made in Winter Horrorland, like for example the opening of the song being based on the Beatles' Your Mother Should Know, and several others. Unfortunately, with copyright laws, I can't share any of those references within this video. YouTube's tough like that. I'll link to the tweet they made in the description instead. They put sections of Winter Horrorland along with the references side by side. It's really cool to hear how small inspirations from each were adapted and turned into something unique. The same way I like seeing art influences, it's just cool to see how artists of all kinds borrow from one another and always manage to turn it into something unique. The background has a few shop signs for salads and sex, junk and shit, LMAO, and crap. Week 6. In the story mode screen, the console appears to be PlayStation 1. They continue to riff off that, very fitting. The Hating Simulator is our first total style switch up, with all the pixel art for this week being done by the artist Mowling. It released in early February to coincide with Newgrounds' 5th annual Pixel Day. And yes, Valentine's was right around the corner, so thematically it fits with that as well. The riff on dating sims with Senpai the character, Rose Blossoms, and the school setting are all meant to riff off Japanese anime tropes and visual novel styles. In the asset files of the game source, they poke fun at this by naming many of the folders and assets as Weeb. All the art, sound effects, game over screen, and well, literally everything was redone to fit this theme. A huge undertaking for sure. I even like the small addition of the song being led into slightly differently.
3, 2, 1, go! 3, 2, 1, go!
We get our first cutscenes of the series, with the Senpai character having actual dialogue. Although with that huge stretch goal of their Kickstarter hit, we're going to see much more of this sort of thing in the final game. It'll be exciting to see that complete story fully realized. The Hating Simulator is meant to be a game that Daddy Dearest has trapped them all within. I don't know, he's a demon, maybe he just likes messing with people. After Senpai has been defeated twice, you instead face off against Spirit. This design really reminds me of Gigas from Earthbound, a character that I'm weirdly familiar with, since they get referenced so often, but I don't even know how to say their name. That's where my mind went, it might not have been intentional. Spirit is a separate character, with Senpai simply being an AI of the game, and Spirit is a human who fell victim to Daddy Dearest an indeterminate amount of time ago, and is trapped inside Senpai inside the game. And week 7 we have the Newgrounds cameo of Tankman. I just made a lengthy video on the full history of Tankman as a series. Wasteland, all these characters, the whole thing comes from Johnny Utah's Tankman series, which itself is based on Newgrounds' tank logo. I won't provide any more context than that, I've already said it all in that other video. I recommend watching that for the full series history, as well as snippets of an interview I did with the series creator. It's great to hear Johnny Utah return to voice these characters, which, same as in the original series, he voiced every character. So that's very fitting here. Although the setting has been changed slightly from an apocalyptic Mad Maxian wasteland to a military compound that I have no idea why they're at. And why does girlfriend pack these speakers around with her everywhere? When are we finally gonna get an explanation for that? There are Tankman designs matching both the characters of Captain and Steve, as well as Private Skittles up in his watchtower. But only that last one feels like an exact character. The week is titled generically as Tankman, even though the series at large was Tankmen, but they all had their own individual names and personalities. So I'm kinda curious that maybe none of them are meant to be the characters we get to know in the Tankmen series. But I do love the little detail that girlfriend has her hands in the air because of the guns being pointed at her, but remaining totally unfazed, she still bobs to the music, dancing with glee. When things are about to go down right before the third song, Stress, girlfriend starts to turn slightly purple with glowing eyes like her parents. These assets are specifically titled GF Demon, suggesting that she is in fact still a demon or has a demon form like her parents. Maybe it's something you grow into. This is built on further during the final song Stress, because if you lose during that, we see boyfriend and girlfriend skeletons, which reveal that she has a demon form within, showcasing this red skeleton and hidden horns. But before the demon form can fully be revealed, we have the awesome return of and story continuation of Pico jumping in and lighting things up. I love the moments in the song where his gunfire starts to sync up with the more machine gun-like parts of the music. It reminds me of the way that Edgar Wright paces action scenes to music in his movies. Johnny Utah has said that he specifically likes to improv when recording, and that can clearly be heard in the final product, with him breaking character and laughing at himself during a few takes, especially in this final cutscene where he has to deliver the line twice after cracking up at himself.
Let's rock, you little cunt! You little cunts!
I'm guessing it was a decision made in the moment to make the line that aggressive. He also recorded a batch of Game Over messages. They can all be heard here, again with a few more crack-ups.
Congratulations, you won. That's what I would say if you weren't such a goddamn failure. No wonder your parents hate you. You feel that? That's called failure, and you better get used to it. That was terrible. Just terrible. Oh my god, what the hell was that? What the hell was that? The only thing you're funking tonight is your sock. Can you even feed yourself? Can you even walk straight? Why am I wasting my time against some baggy pants punk? Why am I wasting my time against some baggy pants fuck? If you can't beat me, how are you gonna survive this harsh and cruel world? Yeah, you're getting closer. I wouldn't brag about it, though. My dead grandmother has more nimble fingers, come on! You're ugly and you can't keep a rhythm. Truly, you are cursed. Good lord, what the hell is your problem, man? Just do it right, please. Man, are you tired of eating shit yet? I said let's rock, not suck cunt. You know I'm running out of shit to say here, so you better beat this sometime today, asshole. Maybe if you had more friends, you'd be less depressed and play better, Open your fucking eyes, jeez. I guess your shitty blue hair dye got in your eyes. It's okay, it happens to all of us.
In regards to this blue hair dye line, Ninja Muffin has stated in an AMA that Boyfriend's hair is actually naturally blue. I feel like I just started reading out an ad for a shampoo commercial. Actually naturally blue. Several of the lines also break the fourth wall and act to mock the player instead of the boyfriend.
Hey, here's some Friday Night Funkin' lore for you. I don't like you. Maybe you should go play week 1 again. I hope you're not some internet streamer screaming like a sociopath right now. You gotta press the arrows, kid, not slap your keyboard like your blind uncle. What?
And the specific line, "You make me wanna cry," comes straight from that original Tankman series.
You just make me wanna cry.
Because obviously you think I'm a big sissy and a poor leader. You know, sometimes you just make me wanna cry.
Re-recorded, but I have to assume that's a reference. I might as well share this once more, even though it was in the Tankman video. Johnny sent me the original audio file Ugh came from, with him recording 4 attempts and really nailing it on that third one.
Alright, I'll just say some catch lines.
Alright, you're ugly.
I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
These were simply recorded for the character, probably something like smack talk during the fight or game over screens, and wasn't intended to be used for a song, but Kawaii Sprite heard the audio and felt inspired to utilize it in a song. I've seen a few people outraged at the comment Tankman makes towards Pico about shooting up a school.
Don't you have a school to shoot up?
Twitter really had a heyday with that this week. It's not some throwaway gag. Pico is most well known for his 1999 game Pico's School, a piece of social commentary in the form of a flash game where Pico actually stops a school shooting from taking place, or stops it from getting worse. Context matters here. It's not some random tasteless joke. It's a reference to that bit of Newgrounds legacy and internet history. There's more to it than shock value, and as I said, I'll be shedding more light on that soon. Keep an eye out for some upcoming Pico content. Maybe we round out the video by talking a bit of story and lore. Cam has said the whole story exists in Phantom Arcade's head. He's been very carefully mapping it out and make sure there's something real there to tell. At the very least, there's overarching story. Every week technically has lore. It's just not implemented or whatever. Each week has a reason for existing. If we don't get direct dialogue story right now, it doesn't mean we never will. And again, with those stretch goals, definitely we will. The original idea for the game is that Boyfriend is courting Girlfriend, and her dad happens to be this ex-rockstar demon that starts battling it out with Boyfriend to gain his approval. Week 2 for Halloween is confirmed to take place at Girlfriend's house. I don't know if we know specifically where these monsters and, little spooky boys start coming in, or why precisely they're fighting Boyfriend. It's a part of the story I don't really know. It has also been confirmed not all these necessarily take place in order, so that could be pretty significant. Week 3 versus Pico, Dad is not happy and hires a mercenary to go out hunting Boyfriend. Pico was fully meant to kill him, but upon arrival, they realize they know each other, having dated way back when. They battle it out. Pico decides not to kill boyfriend. Mommy steps in, also not approving of boyfriend. They have to battle it out yet again. Around Christmas, I don't know if this is just how they have fun. Seemingly at some step along the way, they start to become more approving of boyfriend. Unclear why they choose to threaten Santa. Are they trying to prove a point there? It's been confirmed specifically that the Senpai battle and week takes place after Halloween. They're hanging out at girlfriend's house, go upstairs to play a video game together. Daddy Dearest doesn't really like them being so close, and he just kind of vindictively casts them into the video game. There they are first fighting against the video game before coming up against someone that Daddy Dearest sent there long ago. Potentially someone else who tried to court girlfriend, but I think more likely, considering girlfriend and boyfriend are quite young, and it's been implied that Spirit has been here for a long time. I'm guessing this is someone who tried to steal Mommy away from him, either while they were dating or after they were married. They've been trying to break out ever since. Now, week 7 at the military compound, I have no idea. Were boyfriend and girlfriend trying to expand their arsenal to fight back a little bit? Were they sent to kind of a war zone in the hopes that boyfriend would die? The Tankman here comes at them pretty hard, indicating that he would have just shot them on sight.
We should just kill you, but what the hell, it's been a boring day. Let's see what you got.
We're not really sure where that leap happened. So yeah, we're missing huge tracks of the story right now, but there is intent behind every component of it. It would actually be really fun to talk through in the comments what that larger story might be. Start crafting some little theories, putting the weeks in order, making sense of characters like Monster. Yeah, I think that'll make for some really fun theory crafting. So Dead Estate. There is a free online web version of this game. You can play that on Newgrounds. In that free version, you can play as 2 different characters. There are still plenty of floors to explore, many different items and upgrades, different thematic levels to blast your way through, each with unique enemies, monsters, bosses, all that fun jazz. It's a very complete roguelike experience, available for free. But what we've got in the oven for you now is something that blows that version out of the water. There is so much new content, secrets, extras, expansions being added left, right, and center. Dead Estate is going to be something really special. So please check out the link at the top of the description in the pinned comment. Go give Dead Estate a wishlist. Remember that week 7 is a timed exclusive on Newgrounds. It'll be coming to itch down the line, but the servers are back up. This game wouldn't exist without them. It is an integral part of the game moving forward. It's just such a shame to give any traffic to sites that are pirating the game and profiting off the hard work of these guys who have done so much to give us all this free content so far. So yeah, definitely experience week 7 on Newgrounds. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to patrons of the channel whose names you'll see scrolling in the credits off to the right here, and I hope to see you all again soon.